You know, as the United States celebrates 240 years of independence. And I can remember 1976 very well, that year, and the bicentennial and all that, the big hoopla of it. Gosh, it's hard to believe that 40 years has gone by since that time. But it has. I would say we do this year with some fear and anxiety. And I have, anyway. Not overwhelming, but I have a degree of fear and anxiety. Now, if you're with me, you can nod your head. I mean, you know the direction I'm going. And I'll say this. Radical Islamic terrorism. Can I say that again?
Yes.
Radical Islamic terrorism.
Yes.
It's a shame that our president and some other people are afraid to use that term.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Amen.
That's what it is. I won't get too political here, but it needs to be destroyed.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Stagnant economy. Got a call from my financial advisor. I told Angela, I said, yeah, I'll hear from Tom. With Brexit, I was lower down on the list of the call, but I expected to get a call from him. And he said, you can expect another year of slow, no growth kind of situation. You know, he said, it's just the way it is. And he said, I've been up to Merrill Lynch in New York, and the analysts say this. You know, I put a degree of confidence and trust in that because they analyze this stuff. Now, they can be wrong, but he said that's what you can expect. Don't expect a lot of growth in next year or so. Political and global uncertainty. You can mix those all together. Let's take the political side of things. Obviously, an election is coming up. There's uncertainty. Y'all pretty much know where I stand politically. I try not to get into that too much from the pulpit. But it is an interesting. All the talking heads and the pundits say it's a very interesting. It's got them all fooled. We didn't see how somebody could come out of nowhere and sort of like a political revolution. Somebody else is being investigated for possible crimes. It's amazing. It's amazing. But it creates uncertainty. No matter which way you lean politically, there's uncertainty. Global uncertainty. And I'm not talking about necessarily the terrorism, but you know, England leaving the European market. I mean, the market went down, but thank God it came back up. There's a message in that, believe it or not, that probably might be next week or the week after that. But there's all this uncertainty. Oh my goodness, the globalism that some people want is falling apart, and I think it will fall apart. I personally think it's a good thing. I'm not a globalist. Now there are things that globally we do. We spread the gospel, we go to missions, and we have trade with other countries. I'm not saying we shouldn't have trade with other countries. We should. But anyway, there's uncertainty in the world. You know, with the situation that the world is in, I think we need to remind ourselves that God is in control. And you're going to hear me say that many times in this message. Well, not that many, but numerous times. I need to hear. I need to hear that God's in control. You know, knowing that God's in control gives me a degree of comfort and reassurance. It really does. You know, it's easy to sit back and this latest terror attack in Bangladesh, far away. But there's two endings to this. Guilty. One going home to visit family, and the other one was, I forgot now the situation, but, you know, and I know that's, you have a greater chance of being hurt in a car accident, a far greater chance than that happening to you, but still. I was at, me and the grandkids were Discover Mill Mall the other day, sitting there in the food court. And it crossed my mind. I hate to say it, but it crossed my mind. What if somebody come in here? Everybody hustling, bustling, going around, having fun, kids out of school. It crossed my mind. But knowing God's in control gives me comfort and reassurance. But I have to remind myself. I have to remind myself. You know, I believe Psalm 2, and I'll ask you just, we'll not be able to put it up on the screen, but if the Bible's there, if you've got the Bible available, turn it to Psalm 2, we'll go through it. And if you don't have a Bible available, please read Psalm 2 when you get a chance, and as we go through this. But I believe Psalm 2 gives us a unique look at how and why God is in control. It reassures me of that fact. That's the reason it is my favorite psalm. 150 Psalm, Psalm number 2. And as we read through this, hopefully you'll see it maybe it'll become one of your favorites. It's very different. And again, it's unique in what it says. Let's look at Psalm 2. I'm going to read about the first 5 verses. We'll talk about that a little bit, read some more, and we'll talk about them, then finish it up. Verses 1, starting verse 1, Psalm 2. Why are the nations in an uproar? Now I want you to think of the world situations where you read through this. This was written about 900 BC there, roughly, maybe a little before that, in that time frame. Why are the nations in an uproar? And the people devising a vain thing. The kings, and we could say prime ministers, presidents, politicians of the earth take their stand. And the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against His anointed. Let us tear their fetters apart and cast away their cords from us. Let's sever any ties with those folks, what it says. He who sits in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Then He will speak to them in his anger and terrify them in His fury. Let's stop there for a second. Why? Think historically, go back in history. Why are the rulers of the world always plotting and scheming? I'll take that word out, always out. But too many times plotting and scheming against God's people. That's what they say. You know, it happened historically, it happens now. We see it. These rulers stir up the people with their anti-Christian rhetoric. Do we hear that? Do we hear that from time to time?
Yes.
An anti-Jewish rhetoric.
Yes.
The psalmist tells us God's amused at this. He laughs. He laughs at their vain plans. They're all in vain. He says that. He laughs at their vain plans. Why? Because God is in control. Reading on. Verses 6 through 8. But as for me, installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. I will surely tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, Thou art my son. Today I have begotten thee. Ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as your inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as your possession. The rulers of the world think they are smart and that they control everything. Do we see that? I mean, that's what I see and hear. You know, and I watch too much of the news channels. You know, it's one of those things, I can't go away from it. Then I've watched too much, I get depressed. And I forget that God's in control. So I said, well, man, I got to watch me some Andy Griffith or something. I got to get me something that's, you know, back down to earth and wholesome and whatever, and, you know, whatever else. And gosh, bless his heart, he took after me and his daddy. My grandson Paul, he loves Gilligan Island. Isn't that amazing? I was 10 years old when Gilligan's Island first came into air. Now my 7-year-old grandson loves Gilligan's Island. And you know what we do? When Gilligan's Island, I record him for him, he comes over to the house. We watch Gilligan's Island. Just like I did. He knows the song. He can sing. He and I would sit, and we will sing the theme song as they go through it. And he even says, why do they leave out the Professor and Mary Ann? I said, that changes in season 2. And he calls me up and calls and says, Papa, I saw that one where they had the Professor and Mary Ann. Oh gosh, how do I get off on that? I was looking at my notes. God, I don't know what to do that. But anyway, the rules of the world think they can control everything. But they don't. Because God's Son is already in place over the people. Over the very people that they hate and despise. God says, and I encourage you to go back and read these verses. He said, this is my decree. This is my Son. Jesus Christ, you are my Son. Today, He is your King. That's what He's saying. He is the King over all the people of the earth. Not just Christians. We know He's our King. The world doesn't know that He is their King. But someday, the world will have to acknowledge that. They will have to acknowledge it. Every knee shall bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. King of kings and Lord of lords. Because God is in control. Let's read on. Get back up to verse 9. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You will shatter them like earthenware. Now therefore, O King, show discernment. Take warning, O judges of the earth. Worship the Lord with reverence, and rejoice with trembling. Do homage to the Son, lest He become angry and you perish in the way. For His wrath may soon be kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in Him. Someday, all this world system, and then there's benefits to it. There's benefits to the technology and things that we have. I've said this over and over again. I like it. But all this world system that man has created will be broken and shattered like pottery. All those who do not believe in Him. Rulers of this world, this is your final warning. You better start worshiping the King. Bow down before the King, Jesus Christ. Worship Him. Because God the Father has put Him in control. That's what Psalm 2 is telling us. Right? If you do, the Father will be well pleased. He will bless all that worship the King. I truly believe that people that make an earnest effort to live the Christian life, to worship God, God bless them. And you may say, well, sometimes I don't know where the blessings are. Hey, we've all been there at times. But ultimately, we see the blessings. You know, like all the Psalms, 2 is very poetic. But it's also apocalyptic, which makes it difficult to interpret. But it's not impossible. It is futuristic in many ways. But it also applies to the present. God, sitting on His throne, laughing at the vanity of mankind. It starts out with that. Scoffs. Oh my goodness. Look what they're trying to do. Man, you know, as I was doing this, remember the story early in Genesis about the Tower of Babel? Yes. That was one of the reasons we have languages today that really still separate us in many different ways. Because God says, hey, you know, they can do anything if I don't do something here and confuse their language. God was laughing back then. Well, he wasn't laughing, but it is. You know, look at mankind through history. You know, I've given them medical technology and all kind of technologies and things. Life in general is much better than 1,000 years ago, than 100 years ago. You know, but they still don't worship me. They still go from me. They still ridicule me. They still ridicule my son, my king. I can't believe they do that. It's humorous in some ways. I think God is saying this. God might be saying, you think you know more than I do. With all your achievements, things you did on your own. But even though it may not seem like it, I am ultimately in control. I gave you a Savior, Jesus Christ. But you follow false gods and false religions. Many of you reject and despise the King and His believers. But I am in control. I think God is saying that about unbelievers. As Christians, when the going gets tough, we need to know that God's in control. When the going gets tough, we need to know that God's in control. You know, He will even take control of our personal lives if we let Him. Do you need to do that? In most of you, I know your situation. Let God take control. Might be like me every now and then. Oh, I can do that on my own. How many times do you say, well, I can do that? I don't need your help, Lord. I can do that. Thank you for, I'll call on you when I need you. Am I the only one that does that? Huh? Come on now. Okay. I'll leave him hanging now. But I know that many of you hear testimony after testimony. Times have gotten tough. Let God have control. I can't do this. back to blame. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to walk in fear of the world situation. I admit I borderline on it. I get anxious about the, political uncertainty and one scenario that could happen and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, God's in control. No matter what happens in the political realm, the global realm, the economic realm, terrorism, all that stuff, God is in control. It may not seem like it at times, but God is in control. Can we say that together? God